How long are you guys willing to wait in your perspective ideologies? I think, in my perspective ideology, I think within a presidential year, or I'll give 8 years for serious change.
What's an example of serious change?
I want to see government. I want to see everything change. I want to see.
Good.
I want to see. I want to see pavements paved differently. I want to see money allocated differently. I want the whole thing flipped over. And I'll give you 8 years. If I can't get it in
That's
8 years,
crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, but you got to understand, things have changed in the slide of a pen. It's happened before. So I don't see why it's unrealistic to say that. Well, hey, let's go in here. I mean, I've seen companies like Exxon and BP come into America and build factories within 8 years, multi-billion-dollar factories,
That's
allocating money with tax abatement. You telling me that we can't sit here and allocate our own funds and
But
take over some
what's
stuff?
their eBlack? What's their barriers? Like for example, I mean, even when you talk about the time frame, let's take the Haitian Revolution for example, right? Like you could say officially it was started in 1791, right? Because that's when the first revolt, the first at least the first major revolt took place, and then it pretty much ended in 1803 ish, and then Haiti got their independence in 18. Well, I guess declared it in 1804.
Okay.
Um, so that's about like 12 years, 13 years, whatever. But you were also, dealing with actual slavery. And you also had in each one of these revolts, right, you had like slaves with machetes cutting heads off and
Yeah.
whatnot. So we're talking about very different, circumstances.
But but but
So
didn't Egypt just get its flip its whole government? Didn't Libya flip its whole government? Didn't How many governments are we seeing across the world that are just
you
flipping?
realize the state that Libya was in, right? Like I'm telling you, every situation that you could think of, there's a different
I think it's
set of
possible.
circumstances.
I think it's possible.
I
Well,
would like to speak a little bit on Libya.
Okay.
ignorance ignorance is bliss. So when you don't burden yourself with education and knowledge, of course everything is possible.
Yes.
That's why we have to educate ourselves so that we can truly know what we're up against so that we don't bring a rubber band to a nuclear fight.
I look. I have my beliefs.
Look,
I've
Black.
seen. I've
I'm glad
seen.
the whole
I've
chat can see
look.
you crazy. I'm glad.
I
Black.
look.
Question for
I'm
you.
not. I'm not saying I'm right or I'm not saying I'm wrong. Well, I'm
Black.
saying I'm right, but look,
How do you feel about single payer health care for the United States?
single payer.
Single
Mm.
payer health care.
Hey, chef. I
Hey,
think
you know
it was
what?
it
I'm
was August 14, chef. It was August 14, 1791.
so I'm gonna wrap this up and then I'm gonna
That was
close
22 was
because
when they
number
considered the
one
official date.
on every
But
wait,
we'll talk. We'll talk.
hold on for the record, I didn't expect to come on here and have to deal with a childish person who does these little laughy outbursts every time I open my mouth. If I would have known you would have brought this clown from the other clown show on this show, I probably
Me?
wouldn't have accepted the
Are
invite.
you talking about me? You can say my
This is
name when you're
ridiculous.
talking about me.
This is ridiculous.
You can say my name.
Okay, that it's ridiculous. Now,
All
number
right.
two, I asked you about single payer for a specific reason. When I
Yes.
think revolution, I think very specifically, like my elder Angela Davis said, about the principles and the goals of the revolution. I would like to see specifically single payer be adopted in the United States. I would like to see this country live up to its promise and its boasting about being the most wealthy. If we're the most wealthy, why don't we do single payer like countries with far less wealth? That inconsistency belies the truth of what this country really is. Okay, single payer is totally doable, and what it would do is it would remove a person's dependency for labor to their connection to favorable health outcomes. You got people doing soul crushing work, people having their labor taken advantage of just so they can have health care for their kids in the wealthiest country of the in the world. And you could be in another country like even Libya before America bonded to the Stone Age was offering free healthcare for its citizenry. And it's shameful that this country can't offer it or won't offer it. When I think about revolution, I think about doing violence to make the elected officials force this government to adopt single payer. That's the kind of violence I'd like to get behind. Let's fuck these people up until they stop tying healthcare to fucking labor. It's inappropriate. Does that make sense?
You know,
I
like I
Does
agree
said,
that
with
make
you
sense?
that.
hold on.
We
agree with you
can't.
that-
We absolutely cannot talk revolution without having specific goals and principles and that we're working towards in mind when we think about what we are doing in this revolt.
So I agree with you that healthcare is an issue. Like the healthcare is an issue, but single payer I don't believe is the answer. I think I think we have I think we have issues with with big pharma, right? In terms of just their abilities to basically charge whatever for any medication that people need. I think we have issues when it comes to just the actual practices, like the doctors, the clinics, etc., and their practice and what they're actually able to do. So I think I don't believe single payer though is the answer. I just don't.
Jonathan, do you know that this is one of the only countries in the West?
I know. I'm aware.
No, you didn't even let me finish. I'm going.
I already know what you're gonna say. It's the only
you
country
don't.
where
You don't. Did you
Yes,
know
I
I'm about
do.
to talk about plasma being exported and harnessed for profit? No, you didn't.
No, that's not.
No, you didn't. Because you're too committed to your to this interruption. This country is one of the few countries in the West that still allows private companies, to gather plasma and blood for profit. Many countries in the West have criminalized it because there's obvious ethical and moral reasons to criminalize it. The point I'm trying to make is, like, there's no reason there should be profit motives in health outcomes. There should be no correlation between profit motives and health outcomes. That is a pure abomination. And this is a specific thing that people should be fighting for. When you think about revolution and what's going to change and what's going to replace it, you have to have specific goals in mind.
So let me ask you this, Hannibal. Since we're talking about single payer, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I said 8 years, the Obamacare is technically trying to move towards that. That is it's trying to gear towards single payer. It sets up a marketplace to where the single payer chooses their company, while it still creates
is that there's the government pays for everybody,
but
nobody
okay,
comes out of pocket.
But if you're still changing the standard at the top, as I was about to complete, I was about to say there is still a layer that it's going through. It's not going to be immediate, but it still creates in the wider sense of the thing, you're not going to have the perfect system.
There are no perfect systems. The point I'm trying to make as I exit is that if we're going to talk revolution, we should be being a lot more specific. It's just my personal opinion. And also, look, let me say this and then I'm going to go. Chicago, really, I ain't got nothing to say to you. I'm not doing this internet crap for views. Bro, our circles don't overlap, and I don't want them to overlap. Stop talking to me. Don't inbox my business anymore. I don't want no business with you or your network or your channel or none of you personalities. Don't tag me in the comments no more. Don't address me. I don't want to talk to you, bro.
Really?
Is this how you're supposed to be united?
Hey, wait, chill out.
All right, eBlack, I'm out, brother. Thanks for the invite.
You know, this is one thing I noticed about a lot of
no, chill out. Look, we're talking revolution versus reform. Look, I'm gonna handle that. We gonna handle everything vaccines. It's good. Let's keep the conversation going. You know, like I said, we're talking about trying to implement processes and how much are you willing to take. Jonathan, you talk all this about you're willing to put the power behind. How long are you waiting until you've drained all your lobbyist money and then you realize you didn't get nothing that you invested in?
I mean, so there's a framework for lobbying, if that's what you're asking. There's a framework for lobbying. So you don't it's not something that you just pour money into endlessly without, seeing some kind of results, without having the thing that politicians do behind the scenes, right, is again,
But
even
how
this is
long
something
are
that
you willing to wait?
hold up, I'm going to answer it because there's this context is necessary, right? So even on the local level, you can see this, right? What they do is they like when dealing with lobbyists, when dealing with that kind of framework, they understand that there's expectations of them, and first of all, they're not even there for they have terms, right? And so the point is, you're not gonna get this money until you give us the results that we get, the results that we want. And so it's in other words, however long it takes to get the results, but that doesn't mean that you're, just wasting a bunch of resources. If that makes sense. Like however long it takes to get the results, because maybe you just can't get the results. Maybe you have, sets of politicians that are willing to actually push your, push your ideals forward, but they don't have the majority support that they need to, actually get what you need for to approved, right? So that's something that happens all the time as well. So it's just something that, again, it's just however long it takes to get the results that you need is my answer.
So however long it takes, you're just gonna keep putting the money down the pit and
But
do
it's not
it.
going to be
Okay.
down the pit. There's
Okay.
expectations.
There's expectation. I get it.
Yes.
Ameera, how long are you willing to wait until the candidate that you want is not giving you the revolutionary tactics that you want?
The candidate? You mean like presidential candidate?
Any type of form of candidate. Your mayor, your city council.
Well, these
Because you're
different.
you said you were revolutionary.
Yeah.
I set a hard line. Look, I'll give somebody 8 years.
Yeah,
After
E
8
Black,
years,
8 years is no,
after
that's
8
way too
years,
short.
I'm
That's
sorry.
way too
After
short.
8, we
E
have
Black, no, because the first 4 years of a person's presidency, they're basically trying to change what the other president did before them. The last 4 years, they're trying to make new policies that are going to start taking effect a little bit more later. So 8 years is really not that much.
look. I understand, but if you're going to be on revolutionary policies, we can't wait for our kids to be 8 years old. We have to be active. We have to make immediate changes. We have to see them sweat. 8 years, you can have compound interest that could probably buy you most things that you need.
eBlack, this real change is not made like this. You
But
can't think
eBlack,
of
the only change, the
we're
only
talking from
changes.
the revolutionary standpoint. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But the only changes that can happen that quickly are changes for the worst. The changes for the better take time. Like look at Iraq, for example. Iraq and Iran. In Iraq, it was beautiful. Iran was beautiful before. Very quickly, like within a year, it turned into a war zone, a trash place. Honestly, it's really bad. And it used to be paradise. But how long is it going to take those people to rebuild their country now? It's going to take a lot more than 8 years.
I get it.
Or you don't think?
I think
I would love
I guess okay. From start to finish, yes, it's gonna take longer than 8 years. But if I don't see no progress between that, then I think that revolution is ineffective.
But a
would love
revolution,
So
a
now I got to
revolution
push back
destroys.
on that. Even with a business plan, even with a business model, there's a certain level of faith, understanding in your plan, and patience, right? And you understand they say it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. One of the number one things that some people say about our community is our lack of patience or seeing the macro vision or seeing down the road that we look to the past. And part of it is understanding that there is revolution and there's evolution. And if we understand that certain parts of evolution are going to take place, even without a natural catalyst, just by virtue of homeostasis, is going to happen. But we have to understand that everything is not going to pop like this. You realize that on the planet, before the tectonic shifts and when all of the continents were still connected, the puzzle pieces, it was all black and brown bears. Once that shift took place in Antarctica, right, North Pole, what ended up happening? The ecosystem, after certain bears, black bears, brown bears, grizzly bears started dying, they started evolving. Their coats became white. They started to gain a higher degree of fur in certain areas that they naturally did not have, so that they would eventually be able to survive that environment, right? That's evolution. But with revolution also, there takes intelligence, logistics. It can't be just like this. It's not going to be just like this. You get what I'm saying? Dr. Ernesto Che Guevara, he was killed. You know, logistics are critically important. And if we look at it, even within the dynamic of what those folks we consider our opponents, if people are anarchists and say government, then we have to understand the rule book and the playbook that they're using and move by the same playbook. Some things are incremental changes. Some things are immediate changes. Revolutionaries are disruptors. But the thing is, we have to understand the impacts of those shots that we volley over to that other side and understand it may land right now or it may take 20 minutes for it to land. But we have to understand the impact of it and understand that each of the variables or ideas that we've had on the panel represent a different piece necessary for change. The intelligence, the logistics, the understanding, the infantry soldier that's ready to lay it all on the line, the logistics person that's ready to shut their fucking mouth, right? And work, because guess what? Reform also works with revolution. You know, part of reform is changing it from the inside. Revolutionaries have spies, right?
So how long are you willing to wait, Chef?
I'm willing to wait as long as I understand the depths and the time required to achieve the specific goal. And with all of that, regardless of the actual revolution, it has to be how pervasive that revolutionary thought is. The revolutionary thought is important. That's the thing that's going to make somebody willing to lay down their life. That's the thing that's going to made the Japanese kamikazes during Pearl Harbor willing to crash their freaking planes into a ship. That's the things that make, no disrespect, including their love for Allah. Certain jihadis do some of the things that they do. That's what makes samurais do seppuku when they fail in the mission, because those are the soldiers. Those are the soldiers. So I believe all of them work within that dynamic, and all of them have a certain level of equal importance. But if we try to deny the other, that's where we fall and nothing happens.